Hey guys, we're opening up viewer submissions for the intro to the Absolute Guard podcast. All you have to do is post a video like this of yourself saying the following. Hi, I'm Blank, and you're listening to the Absolute Guard podcast, hosted by AK Grandmaster B and Porta John. After that, you can say whatever you want for 30 seconds, as long as the video itself is under 30 seconds, and then post it to your platform of choice: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, and then send the link to us in the Spiral Series Discord under the Viewer Intro Submissions channel. If your video is selected, it'll be featured as the intro to the next episode of the podcast. So, looking forward to seeing what submissions you guys have. Hello, and welcome to the Absolute Guard podcast. We're a competitive fighting game community podcast examining history and current events from the lens of the Arizona grassroots scene.
Yes, welcome. This is episode 68. My name is Benny, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host John, who ended last year a little sick, but has activated his comeback mechanic and is ready for 2024. How's it going, John?
A little sick, yeah. I gotta say, man, like this cold, and that's the reason why we didn't have a show last week. This cold laid me out. It was so bad, and I haven't been this sick since Evo, which is August, so I guess it's not that bad. But even then, before that, like even then, I think this was worse than Evo. Like I had the flu, I think, after Evo, and this was just a normal cold, but like it stuck with me for like a week. And the real kicker is that my wife caught it as well. We went to a party and there was a sick kid there, and I'm pretty sure that's how we all got it, because a lot of people from the party all got sick too. And this was the first time. Yeah, damn those kids. This is the first time in a while that Jess and I have been sick at the same time, and like it is so much harder. Like I give props to you, Benny, as a father, like, or rather that you're a father and you had to like like having to keep up, like what is it, care for a sick kid and care for yourself when you probably got sick from your kid. Like, yeah, that seems to be a recurring problem I see that parents have to deal with. So props to you, man, for being able to handle that, because it was already tough enough on my end.
Yeah, that's the worst. Like because like like when it's coming around too, like when one of them gets sick, and then you're just like, oh man, who's next in the house to get it? And then if it's me or it's one of the other kids, and you're just like, oh man, it's we just gotta wait for it to cycle through everybody.
Yeah, and that's usually what happens with me and Jess. Is like I will get sick and then I will get her sick, but I'm usually better by the time she gets sick, and so I can more easily take care of her. This time we were both like fucking laid out. It was a rough one.
Yeah, it's not good, man. Glad you're feeling better though.
Thanks. And yeah, so I'll probably be coughing during this episode, just a heads up, so apologies to anybody's ears in advance. I will try to mute. But one thing that I was able to record prior to getting sick was the intro to this episode, where we are now accepting user submissions for our intros. So basically, like, anybody can record on their cell phone or whatever, just record a 30-second clip and submit it to us. You can send it to us in our Discord, and there's like a whole channel for that too. And then I'll just put that in the front of every episode. So it's just a good way to involve the listeners in the community, but not necessarily like you don't have to be a full-on guest on the show or anything.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Yeah. I see in our chat here that Collins says, imagine getting sick from a party. And I will say I think it's kind of a raw deal that Collins got COVID, or I've outed you, sorry man, but Collins got COVID and he was better after a couple days, and I got a normal ass cold and I'm still fucking dealing with it. I think we're at that point now. Okay. Anyway, all that to say, I got done talking about my sickness and stuff like that, but we actually have, like, we had like holidays and New Year's and everything like that. So Benny, how was your break, or how was your holiday season?
My break was great. I had plans to go to watch a Thursday night football game, watch the Rams play live. So on the way there, was able to stop in Vegas and visit with my parents, my sisters, my nieces, my nephew. So that was a good time. Go to LA. Had a little bit of stress, like with the kids coming in a little late due to delayed flights, but other than that, the game we went to was great. The Rams won, so really happy to do that. Like, that was the first game for my girls to attend in LA, so that was awesome. Just a big family thing to do, and then pretty much just
Nice.
been back and been working. So
Did you so like first like January 2nd, you're already back at work then?
yeah, well, actually, yeah, but well, Christmas, yeah, because I was back like right in time
Oh,
for
right.
Christmas. So yeah, unfortunately, like my days off have changed to Thursday, Friday, which is great for like social stuff. But then I had Monday, Tuesday, which would have been perfect and then lined up with the holidays, but I'll take the trade off, so it's okay. I'd rather have the
Yeah,
Thursday, Fridays off instead of the couple holidays and the whole year. So
I was gonna say in a couple months you'll probably be happy about Thursday, Friday over that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would have worn off pretty quick. So
Yeah. Very cool. So who do we have on the show today?
today we have Christian, aka Crusty CYA.
Hey, how's
What's
it
up,
going,
Christian?
everyone? Hey there. I'm Sia or Christian, either or Crusty. Any of those three will work fine. Happy to be here. Yeah.
Great, great. Yeah, as is customary with any new guest that we have, we kind of want to know a little bit about you, kind of the origin between the gamer tag that you've chosen or that may have been bestowed upon you. So how did you come around to being a Sia?
Yeah. Sia is literally my initials. CYA Christian Jamil Aguayo. It just popped up in my head literally before a tournament one day. I'm like, hey, that works. And it just stuck ever since. Had a nice ring to it. The crusty part, which I do use a lot in a lot of my online tags, actually came from some friends of mine years ago. We literally were on like a Discord call, and my friend, I'll out him here. He was high, extreme. he was very high, and he's like, Christian, crusty.
Okay.
Hey, Christian. I'm like, yeah. Your name starts the same as Crusty. I'm like, yeah. Can I call you Crusty? I'm like, yeah, sure, man, go for it. And it just stuck. Literally, I've been Crusty in that friend group ever since. And I like the name, so I use it in a bunch of my online stuff.
Nice. Nice. I mean, well, like it's a combination, a little bit of both, right? Something that you created, and then something that was basically bestowed upon you when
Yeah.
one of your friends was high. So
I never knew about the crusty part because, like, Christian, like, we've known each other for a couple of years now, and like, I only ever knew you as Sia, and then
Yeah.
randomly one day, like, I knew that like on Discord and whatever you go by Crusty Sia, but I think it was at TGZ. I think it was Justin. He was just like, "Hey, Crusty," and I was like, "Who the hell is that?"
Yeah. And like I think I remember looking because like yeah, I literally am just so used to responding to Krusty. Like I'll look over if I don't know, someone's talking about Krusty from The Simpsons. Like
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just normal to me now.
nice.
I got a friend who when we're playing Street Fighter 6 together, and he like I either if whenever he's in the corner, he quotes The Simpsons. He says, is it "Stop the ride, Krusty wants off." And I feel like that's something that you can probably say when you're Guile and you're cornered.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll leave him there. It's fine.
Cool. So I guess another like standard question we ask to folks when they first join the show here is, how did you get started playing fighting games? What are your origin stories there?
Yeah, I think ever since I was a kid, I was always kind of a casual fan of like a bunch of different fighting games, even when I was literally just like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to do a special move. I was mashing buttons. Um, it was around when I was like 15, I started competing in Smash Brothers. I played
Mm,
Melee, then moved on to 4 and Ultimate. Um, it was around, I think, like I got Street Fighter 5 maybe like a month or two after it came out. So I was there for just that awful, awful dark age. I didn't
Season one.
even realize how bad things were. I look back and like, God, that game sucked season 1. But but yeah, I think I didn't start competing in Street Fighter like or seriously until like the end of season 2.
okay.
Um I grew up in Connecticut. Was there for like some convention. Like season 3, I played Guile and did pretty decent at the tournament and got to meet the organizer, Lucky D. and
Oh,
he
okay.
got me into contact with Up to Snuff, who was like the top player in Connecticut at the time. I know he moved to Cali a few years later. He played Nikali. I don't know if you know him.
Lucky D, is he a Dawson player?
Lucky D is a Dawson player. Yeah, he's from Massachusetts.
Okay, is he an Asian guy?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
met him. Yeah, I played against him in the team tournament at DTN. That's super cool.
Sweet.
And we ran into each other at Evo. He's a super awesome guy. This
Yeah.
Dawson's scary as shit too.
Yeah, he wrecked my Guile pretty badly actually back in 5. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but he got me in contact with Up to Snuff, and that's how I got introduced really to the scene and from there that's when I was like regularly playing.
Nice.
That scene definitely helped me like improve a lot for sure. And eventually I moved down to Florida when I transferred to colleges, and that's when I got exposed to both the Tampa and Orlando scenes. Met a bunch of the players there. I'm still in contact with a few of them. And
Nice.
And from Florida to Arizona, I was hopping back and forth, during my college breaks because my parents moved over to Arizona, and that's how I got exposed to you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was I remember like when you first started showing up, because like you had mentioned that you were from Florida, so I didn't even really know that you grew up in Connecticut and that you had family here. And I was like, oh, he must be an Arizona native that just is going to college in Florida. But it's actually like there's 3 locations involved here, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I haven't been to Connecticut in like at least seen the scene in years, and like I don't even know if any of them are still playing, to be honest. But
okay.
Yeah,
I'm also intrigued by like your Smash career. We kind of glossed over that briefly, but did you say that you competed in Smash as well?
Yeah, I did. That was like the first real like fighting game that I like got into competitively, and like I was okay.
Who did you main in Melee?
In Melee, it was Samus. Yeah,
Samus. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Melee Samus, to me, is like one of my favorite fighting characters ever. I love her in that game. Yeah.
Okay. So is that where you got your love of projectiles?
Probably. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't realize it yet because I was like playing a bunch of different characters, like and like more traditional fighters, but definitely I think loving that like zoner play style, loving like ruining people's lives with projectiles. I think that came from Samus.
Okay. And then so from Melee to 4 to Ultimate, did you stick with Samus, or were you like
for a while,
obviously the cast expanded, so
yeah. For a while, Samus sucked in 4, so I got really sick of that. Switched over to Zero Suit Samus, and that's who I played for the rest of 4 and a chunk of Ultimate. Yeah, still love that character. And Ultimate, because I was still playing up until maybe a few years ago, I picked up Terry and switched over to him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Terry Bogard, like the KOF player, KOF character.
Yeah, I love, like, I will be blunt, I hate a lot of things about Smash Ultimate. Terry, though, is amazing. I love what they did with him in that game.
Actually, that kind of intrigues me, and we don't have to go too negative, but like, what, as somebody that's played 3 different Smash games, like what was it about, what makes Ultimate different than 4, or what made it worse, I guess, or things you didn't like?
Ironically, I do think 4 is a worse game than Ultimate, actually.
Okay.
Like, it was a case of like, I look back and like, yeah, 4 had a lot of stupid stuff in it. But like, to kind of just keep it simple, I think the Ultimate, like, the biggest thing is I get just the way Smash moves is structured. I just don't prefer it as much as a traditional fighter, especially Street Fighter. It just feels like Street Fighter feels so much more comfortable to me, and even other traditional fighters compared to Smash. And just a lot of things that, a lot of players in the Smash scene are okay with in the game, just, I know, frustrated me to no end, to the point where I'm like, I don't really want to play anymore.
Okay.
But I still have a lot of friends that play Smash. I still follow kind of the scene. Definitely, like, whenever they compete, like, I support them a ton. I'm happy when they do well. So
yeah, it's nice. It's nice to hear somebody say something like, this game isn't for me anymore, kind of thing, because it's like, That's been one of the big sticking points with like six and the negative discourse that comes with it is people feel obligated to play this game, and I'm like, there's so many other games. There's new games that are coming out. Grand Blue just came out. Tekken 8's coming out. There's all kinds of stuff that you could play, and like you don't have to play this game just because your friends play it. I jokingly said it like a few episodes, like find new friends. But I mean that in a good way, right? Like find the game that you find is fun and that you enjoy, and don't play it just to play it because your friends are playing it or you feel you need to because it's the popular game. Like if you find something else that's more enjoyable, then find that community and play with those people.
Yeah. Yeah, I fully agree.
So okay, so you transitioned to Street Fighter Five from Smash, and Street Fighter Five. I think honestly, we had some of the similar sentiment, Benny, where a lot of people were shitting all over Five, and for good reason. In Season One, there were a lot of issues with it, but as people moved on from Five and the scene kind of shrunk down a little bit. I remember, Christian, you were one of the regulars in our scene, one of the people that kept Street Fighter Five alive in Arizona, to put it bluntly. And I wanted to kind of compare and contrast like how Five was compared to your experience with the Smash scene as well as your experience with Six right now. Like, how did you feel about the community in Arizona? Like, how has it changed? Like, how are you? I don't know, kind of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I can say like at least like from coming here for Five, like I saw like a ton of different changes. Like I mean, first and foremost, it got smaller. Whether that was because of real life things or just people falling out of the game, it probably depends on the person. And of course, COVID definitely like caused a huge hit to the scene.
Yeah.
I can say like I definitely have like a lot of like close friends that play Smash, but like I was their friends before really like we kind of like were competing. It's just we happen to really like Smash. Definitely as far as like lasting like friendships and people like I really connected with, I connected with many more people in Street Fighter.
Okay.
And I think that definitely contributed to me staying in the scene. Just like it was fun to hang out with like so many different people, like with you guys, shout out to you guys. The rest of the AZ scene, the guys in Florida like are hilarious that I hung out with. Like that I think was great, and I do see that a lot in Six as well, even though like there's a ton of new faces. Like I'm happy to see a lot of these new faces. Because like I've never really experienced this Street Fighter transition before. This is my first time experience, so it's cool to see from my perspective.
Okay. Yeah, I think that you have a really unique perspective, because when people talk about Street Fighter, I usually, people immediately think about Street Fighter 2. And when you think of Street Fighter 2, you think of being in your mid 40s. And so I'm serious, and like Street Fighter tends to skew older demographically, right?
Yeah.
And so to hear, and then Smash was literally on the opposite end of the spectrum, where Smash skewed way younger than other fighting games. And then you have like the anime and the 3D and NRS, more distributed in between those two. But Street Fighter tends to be the boomer game, as from what I've seen people say in our Discord. So it's nice to see someone younger come up, and I think with the experience from the Smash scene and then transition to Street Fighter, and then basically, do you consider yourself a Street Fighter player or a Smash player at this point?
I consider myself fully a Street Fighter player.
Yeah, cool. So the torch is being passed in real time here. We're seeing the old guys age out or die. I should have said it like that. I see the old guys age out, and we're seeing the next generation of Street Fighter players come of age here. So
it's kind of funny. Like I was like, I talked about it like with your guys, like going from 5 to 6. Like I used to be the kid, kind of in the scene, but now we have literal teenagers, coming to our tournaments now, and I'm seeing them in other parts of the country doing extremely well. And it's like, I'm not the kid anymore. Like, It's
Yeah,
weird.
John's talked about that too, like from his time with four and stuff. Like, now he's kind of the elder statesman and was kind of holding things together with the end of five, and then coming into six, like he was seen as as the vet guy, and that was kind of a wake up call to him too. It's like, hey, I'm not that guy anymore. I'm the one that everybody's like, hey, you're one of the top guys now.
Yeah, it's interesting transitioning to, because you spend the whole time like being in reverence of, or like at least hearing about OGs, like
Yeah.
Hmm.
the mythical OG like Scott or somebody. It's just, to me, that's Scott or
Jeff.
Jeff, or yeah, like Saber or Old Man River or Luke's Balls or Said 3S. Like even the Third Strike
Hmm.
players are OGs in my mind. But
Yeah.
I've been hearing a lot from people that started with four, like I did, that they're the OGs now, and it's like we're gonna reach probably in Street Fighter 7 at that point. You will be considered OG, Christian.
Yeah, it's funny because like on that, like you hear like the term 09er, 09er used to be an
Right.
insult basically.
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
And
was.
now it's like a revered term, and like
Yes.
eventually 16ers will be a revered term.
Yeah.
Probably like it was an insult at first too. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of in a weird kind of middle ground because like I'm older in age, but then I'm in competitively I'm a 09er as well. So like I'm in that crowd when it comes to competing. And just thinking about that, man, that's 15 years ago already. So that's just crazy to me.
It's a very unique perspective to have. You got a taste of both worlds there, Benny.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, as in my younger years, I wasn't competing in like the arcades and stuff like Saber and Old Man River and stuff were doing. But I had grown up kind of in that arcade culture with with that stuff being in the malls and stuff, and then kind of gravitated to what it is now.
Mm. Well, I will say that as somebody that started with Street Fighter 4, I think Street Fighter 4 was the worst game that I ever played competitively. And dead serious, like I genuinely believe that. And I've always wondered, is it because you always hear about the people that like love their first game and they never let it go, but I'm in
Yeah.
the opposite, where I'm like, I hated the first game that I played. In hindsight, I look back on it and it was trash. And so I'm curious about Christian, because you said that about Smash 4. Like, what is your overall opinion about Street Fighter 5 as the first Street Fighter game that you played?
definitely, I think I have like that bias because it's my first serious Street Fighter game,
Mm-hmm.
and
Hmm.
it's like I can look, even at the time, I could look at things like objectively that were bad, like when the input lag was 8 frames.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Or, just some extremely broken era like season 3 Abigail. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty rough.
Uh,
Uh,
actually, I didn't realize how bad it was. And I look back and like, holy crap, that character was ridiculous.
Yes.
Like
The
I stand
unblockable
by. Like
loose.
people
Yeah.
complain about like Luke at the end. I stand by. Season 3 Abigail was so much worse than Luke.
yeah.
But like, yeah. But to go back to it, yeah, I look back and like I see like the final product, and I think it's a fantastic game. You know, is it my favorite Street Fighter? I don't know. To be honest, like I can at least now play the other game. Like I'm at a good enough level that I can at least try the other games,
Mhm.
and
Hmm.
try to get good at them. But like I can say at least I do love Street Fighter 5. Yeah, and I have a lot of good
Me too.
memories of it. Like I love 6 right now. I'm looking forward to what 6 is going to bring. But yeah, 5 I think will always kind of hold that place in my heart.
Cool. And then you played Guile pretty much the entire time through that, right?
I picked him up season 3. Like when I first really started competing, I was playing
Yeah.
Ken.
Okay.
Okay.
And it just was a case of like I kind of realized like Ken didn't really fit me how I
Uh,
wanted to play. And I switched over to Guile, and I picked the perfect season 3 to to
Oh
switch
yeah,
over.
season 3
Guile was
Guile.
a
Yeah.
monster that season.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I stuck with him ever since. Like at least for 5, yeah.
That's the other side of like starting with 4, is that Guile was trash for pretty much the entirety of 4 minus one version, and even
yeah.
that version went away very quickly.
Yeah.
And so like a lot of the Guile players that I know from 4 didn't really transition to 5, even though he was really good in 5.
That,
Yeah.
So
that is actually
yeah.
interesting because, like, I mean, obviously, I've seen a lot of like 4 footage at this
Yeah.
point, but like I haven't really played it seriously, so I don't really know how good Guile is in that game. And like I know, like looking at the cast, I don't know if I would even play him, but that's
Yeah.
interesting that I did not expect him to be bad.
No, his best version was definitely Super. That's been like all the charge characters were basically almost, I think, all the top tiers are easily like in the top 10. And
Okay.
then after
Yeah.
that, that's pretty much when they all got nerfed and kind of started dropping there.
Yeah. And then it was a combination of that and then people figuring out their offensive setups to really like abuse Guile's lack of wake up options.
Yeah.
Flash kick was a reversal, but it didn't really mean anything because you could safe jump it too easily. I wanted to ask as well, like you mentioned that wouldn't be the character you'd play in 4, but what do you look for when you are starting a new fighting game and you're looking for in a character?
Um, I look to start with like this may not be a deal breaker, but definitely helps a lot. Is like I love having projectile. It doesn't necessarily need to be like an extremely powerful one. Like Guile has arguably the best fireball in the game. Like it doesn't have to be on that level, but I like having one. Just it's that extra tool I love. Ultimately, I do just like having a character that is well rounded enough that they kind of have like answers for a lot of different things. And in a lot of like looking at like who I play in like other fighting games, like that is definitely what I look for.
Okay, so you're not going to play a pixie rushdown character per se, but more like a well-rounded.
Yeah, like there's rushdown characters I like, but like I think about it, I'm someone that can hang back if they need to.
Yeah.
Is someone that fits me a lot better.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking of, is because like when I was first introduced like to playing you in 6, and like John would talk about playing you or describe kind of your play style, it was very defensive. Like there was a lot of comparison between you and Big Mac, and it's just like Big Mac was like the offensive monster and rushing down people, and you were the guy that was just like, okay, just come to me. Like I'm perfectly fine sitting back here. And like even now, like that's always been a tough style for people to deal with, because naturally people are impatient when it comes to fighting games. Like they'd call your style like BS, or a bitch play style or whatever. And it's just like, why don't you come after me? And it's just like, because I don't have to. It's just like, I got the life lead. I'll sit back here and I'll throw my fireballs and I'll anti-air you, and you figure it out, because I don't have to do anything. So, and like I've gradually seen you like become more of an offensive player. Like that's something that John's mentioned also. Like he's kind of coming out of his shell a little bit, but then at the same time, like you have no problem kind of just like switching it on the fly and be like, you know what, I'm just gonna kind of hang back.
Yeah, I think. Oh,
go ahead, Christian.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think with 6, especially, I was starting to do it more in 5. Like I wanted to really like improve my offensive game, because I thought like I straight up did think that was a weaker part of like how I played, and that I know like I can look back in a lot of like big matches that I lost because like I didn't really like capitalize and like move in offensively when I should have, or optimize like a certain combo when I could have. So that's been something I've really been working on with 6.
Yeah.
That's always been kind of funny to me too, is because you picked the defensive zoner character in the game that specialized in bulldogging the shit out of your opponent with V trigger.
I mean, it helps
stuff.
that Guile was good at the offense part in that
That's
game.
true.
So,
That's true. Yeah, he was well rounded as you chose. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Benny, earlier you brought up the comparison with Big Mac, right? And I want to highlight that comparison because it wasn't just like Christian was defensive and Chase was offensive. It was, they both played zoners. They both played a fireball game. They just played the fireball game differently as far as offensive versus defensive, which is extremely it's a sign of player expression, and it's a sign of like commitment to a style. And I just find it awesome that you were able to find that groove and find an identity in that game, because that was another criticism of 5, right? Is that there wasn't really a way to express your own identity. Every character kind of played only one way.
Which I always like maybe it's the Street Fighter 5 player in me, but I'm like, I don't know about that criticism. Like I can kind of point out like how different people play even when they play the same character, but that's me.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to move forward to the present here because 6 comes out and you out of the gates you don't play Guile. You play a different character, and I was curious about your choices there and kind of how it ties into what you were looking for in a character.
Yeah. I was playing Ryu at first. I played him in the beta. I will be entirely honest with you. It's straight up just because Guile felt weird to me at first. Like
Mm.
everyone was telling me Guile was top tier, and I believed it. That he definitely seemed like he was a strong character, but I knew I at that time I could not optimize him at all. Like I sucked at drive rush combos with him. I was playing Street Fighter V Guile, and I knew like I'm not playing him optimally. Ryu, however, still fit how I wanted to play, and I could like do like I felt like I could play Street Fighter 6 with Ryu. So it was that pretty much changed when that drive rush cancel button came out. Like I think it came out with Rashid, and
Yeah.
I remember actually like I remember posting about it. Like I was Diamond 1 with Guile because I did my placements with him. Like may as well, but didn't really touch him after that. When that cancel button came out, I literally hit master in a day. Like it was like the weighted training clothes came off. Like oh Dan, like after Evo, I'm gonna have to switch. Like
Okay.
yeah.
And did you switch because Guile is top tier, or did you switch because Ryu sucks? It's a loaded question.
I will say this: Guile is much, much better.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think Ryu's a bad character, but definitely, yeah. I mean, Guile being a better character was a contributing factor. But I still think Ryu could work. But I don't like working.
Yeah,
That's fair.
Ryu has his kind of unique set of tools, and it's like, I think we've talked about this in the Discord a lot. Is like, and I think this is the experience of a lot of people. Is that I think I think the Ryu in itself or in himself is pretty wild, and player expression really kind of shines through when I see people play him, because like I've seen people play him in so many different ways, and it drives me crazy because like you get used to kind of like dealing with a certain kind of playing style from characters, right? Like Ken's always in your face, or a lot of the Guile players, like they'll zone you out and then all of a sudden they'll rush you down. Chun's doing the stance mix ups and those kind of things, so that's what you look for. And then like Ryu players, like I'll start around, the next thing you know, I see Hasho come out like right at the start, and I'm just like, yo, what is this shit? And I was like, nobody does this, and like I'm getting overwhelmed in the beginning, and then I play a different guy that just like I don't know, just doesn't do any kind of combos at all, and it kind of just throws me off like playing against those players.
Yeah, with Ryu, definitely, I agree. That's the case, and online, it is straight up a Wild West for what Ryu you're gonna get.
Yeah,
like there's playing wild, and then there's like heavy donkey kick round start into level 3 or some crap like that, like or yeah, like Hashos everywhere. Like I've seen so many ridiculous Ryus. I call them Ryus to differentiate. Like but yeah, like even like seeing like top level Ryus, I can see like how different they all play, and it's awesome to see that. Like I can see that more in Ryu more than other characters. I agree.
Yeah,
I have this like shorthand with Ryu in particular based on what buttons they use. I can tell what game they played. Like if they use strongs a lot, then they're a Street Fighter V player. If you see the Ryu do like the strong thing, they're Street Fighter V.
I was doing that in the beta.
Yeah, a lot of people are doing that in the beta. If you see a Ryu that will sweep constantly, that's a crapshoot between Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 2, but usually it's Street Fighter 4 because they love the hard knockdowns. And then Street Fighter, and if you see a Ryu that just whores out standing heavy punch, like the big ass buttons, That's boomer neutral. That's Street Fighter 2.
I still consider myself a bit of a replayer. I can say as a replayer, I think the boomer neutral is the most correct way because of how good his standing heavy punch is
It is
in this
it's
game.
good.
Like
Yeah.
for sure, I think that's more optimal than the other two. Like
I agree. I think that Fierce with Ryu is really good.
Yeah.
Okay, so then just to kind of pull it back from character discussion, so you've you've transitioned to 6, you played Ryu, you switched to Guile, you've got a kind of a good feel on this game now. Like, what are your opinions about Street Fighter 6 as a game?
I think right now, like I know a lot of people are talking about like the balance right now and the certain top tiers. I think as far as a launch game goes, like launch, I think the game is in a pretty good spot. Like all things considered, like. I think even like, the bottom tiers can do pretty well. Like I personally think Geef is the worst character in the game. I do think Geef is viable still. Like he is a scary character. I don't look forward to fighting one.
Yeah.
Agree.
I mean, can there be fine tuning? I agree. Yeah, I agree. Like whether, some balance changes, maybe some system changes. I think there's a lot of kind of good ideas that I don't really know where I really want the game to go. I want to say that it's only up from here, but I know I hated season 2 of Street Fighter 5 much more than 1.
So you're worried they might make it worse?
There's always that chance.
Sure.
But I'll be optimistic.
Yeah. I mean, it really kind of depends on what the characters they introduce and what comes with that too. Because like season 2, Street Fighter 5 was Balrog and Urian,
And Laura.
and
Laura,
and dealing with that kind of stuff, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yep. Very oppressive offense, and then a lot of V trigger comeback mechanic kind of stuff, which you pick your poison on that one.
Yeah.
I guess then, do you have a favorite drive mechanic, or what's your impressions of the drive system, right? Even season 1 or just in general for Street Fighter 6?
I think for mechanic, it's fun hearing people definitely have wildly different views. I think on the drive system and what parts they like. You can tell by which part of it they complain about.
Yeah,
yes, you can.
It's kind of funny just given my playstyle, but I actually do really like Drive Rush.
Yeah.
I like it because of just it gives me kind of that way to move in. I don't want to say it's like an I skip neutral type of thing, but I love John, you remember, look, I dashed a lot in Street Fighter 5.
You did. Yes.
Yeah.
Good
so
ways,
I think
though.
I think it really comes from that. I can kind of keep that same Street Fighter 5 style pressure that I liked. I can continue that with Drive Rush. And I actually like that they tied it to meter in this game. So it's not quite, as, nuts as 5 could get.
Yeah.
But it helps definitely that Guile has a great Drive Rush. Maybe not the fastest, but combined with his buttons, it's so, it's like a wall, and his normals are great in it. I like it because it allows me to kind of play offensive when I need to.
Yeah,
it's easier for me.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that because we recently played at the Gaming Zone last Friday, and I think overall our set was 6-3U, and one of the biggest thing I noticed was whenever I'd throw a bad arch fireball or something, you would immediately recognize that, and that's your time to drive rush in.
Yeah.
And I would be getting hit constantly, and I'm just I can't be doing that. That's not something I can rely on as a pressure tool or a way to kind of keep you off of me, because you were in there every time. And then like I said, you ended up winning 6-3. I thought it was kind of funny because at the end I timed you out, and I was just I gave him a little taste of his own medicine before I got off.
No, you got me there for sure.
Yeah, he was trying to chase me down, and then I there's just 3 seconds that I heard a oh shit, and I was just
that was I remember that. I was not paying attention to the time when I should have that, which is rare of me to not to do, but yeah.
Yeah, let's inform the listeners about your style a little bit here. Is that in the Christian, I think Arizona, I think in general has a reputation for playing extremely offensive. Like the entirety of my career in the FGC, like if you compare the different scenes, Street Fighter V was an offensive game, so no matter what, we were always going to play offensive. But like I do think that like there are more strong offensive players in our scene than there are defensive players. And what Christian brought to our scene when he came from Florida, or at the beginning of season 3 of 5, like you were the only person to time people out regularly. I think like it happened every now and then, but like that as far as like a core win condition for your game plan, you were the one who was most comfortable going for a timeout. And I think that has persisted in 6, but like it's actually rubbed off on me and rubbed off on Chase. I think Chase plays a lot more defensively now, thanks to you, and to a lot of players I think that have played against you. Like even Benny, you timed out Christian, right? Like
yeah, like you're right. I got a taste of my own medicine, and you're not the only one who's done that to me. So.
Yeah, you inspired the rest of the scene to be willing to use the rest of the timer. That was actually a phrase that you gave to me once. You said like, I want to use the whole game. I want to use the whole timer. And I found that to be extremely profound because again, like you're coming from Smash, right? I guess Smash has a timer. Now I think about it.
It does. Yeah, the timer's way longer. And guess what? I used that same tactic there.
Okay.
Legit. And it was much worse in that game. I had to time you out for 8 minutes.
Yeah,
like 8 to 10 minutes, depending on the tournament.
Christian the staller.
I'll do it, man. Like I hate your character. I don't care, man. I don't want to fight you. Like
yeah.
Imagine having to do that against Zangief. You think you can time out Zangief for 8 minutes? I think I would have a mental breakdown like halfway through. I'd be like, I'm done. You know what? You just win already. Forget it.
There's little things too. Like it got me like examining like, okay, so how, because everyone always likes to talk about how they're when you're playing against an opponent, right? You're doing a lot of like a series of pattern recognition. You're doing vibe checks, if anything, just to like. So some people play like calculated or mathematically, other people play emotionally. But like no matter what, you're getting like a general idea of like what your opponent wants to do. But I think one of the things that you helped me see is that what somebody does at 80 seconds can be completely different than what somebody does at 40 seconds on the timer. And that, I don't know why it took me, 8 years to figure that shit out and why you started out knowing that right away. But like, man, that was a very profound piece of advice that I got from you. So
it's a Smash player, man. Like I carried a few things over. So
yeah, totally. Okay. So, I guess we've talked about playstyle, we've talked about the game a little bit, but then like locally now, you are like full-time Arizona at this point. Like you've moved here, right?
Yeah.
So how have your tournament placings been? How are you handling competing locally?
I'll just like I am happy that I get to regularly compete again. Like very happy. Like there were like a couple I could play like casuals back in Florida, but mainly it was just kind of Smash and the rare times I could go to Orlando because I was like over an hour away. But yeah, there really wasn't anything for Street Fighter V. And then over here, the scene was extremely small, like by the end of 5. So it's awesome just seeing all these different players come in. Great, like a lot of great players too, like people who I haven't played before, and like even like the new blood, like they're ridiculously good, and it scares me because I can tell you I was not that good at 14. I was garbage at Street Fighter at 14. Like I figured out how to do special moves. I couldn't do charge motions yet, but I could do quarter circles. Yeah, but as the scene, like playing 6, it feels like it's great because I think as far as placings go, I definitely do pretty well for the most part in most tournaments, like top 4 generally. Actually, the one win I got, I think at TGZ, the Secret Labs 3 was my first win here in Arizona.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Even outside of 5?
Or even, I mean, there were small.
5?
like there were the smaller like tournaments like at near the end of it, but like on a bigger scale, like more
Yeah.
than
Gotcha.
6 people. But
Okay.
but yeah, so like that like win really like kind of like took me like wow, like that felt
It's paying
great.
off, right? Yeah.
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 All the hard work.
And it feels great to see like how well like me grinding has paid off. Me doing well locally, like this, I guess it's last year now at Evo, like that was the best run I had in Street Fighter Five, so that felt good.
Nice. I was curious if you had any advice to players that are, outside of the top 4 range, which is the vast majority of us, I think. But like, as somebody who started out, in 5, I would put you at like maybe a consistent top 8er.
By the time
But
I got
then,
to Arizona, yeah, was
yeah.
not the same in Connecticut and Florida for sure.
So I guess like what in your mind really helps push your results from being like a top 8er to a top 4 to winning tournaments? Like, do you have any like pro tips?
I know, like with me, like it's funny because I don't grind the game that much compared to others online.
Yeah.
It's that offline experience I value a ton. I always try to get as many games as I can, whether both in tournament and also like through casuals. Like,
Yeah.
as far as like advice, it's kind of generic, maybe, but like, you know, definitely take advice to heart when someone wants to give it to you. Ask questions because a bunch of top players have like given me a ton of advice. Like at talking to them like one on one. John, you've given me a ton of advice of the game, like on 5 and 6. I can tell you that a lot of those things you taught me, like, has paid off.
Cheers.
Yeah. I will say, like, I think the most important thing is like don't be discouraged. Just keep
Yeah.
going because uh, like progress is going to be slow. I think it was definitely
Yeah.
slow for me, and like I can say like I think I'm a pretty slow learner, but like you'll know like the hard work will like really it will pay off continuing to grind
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah. I think.
So it's almost like like if it was easy, then it wouldn't be worth doing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Exactly. Yeah. I was gonna say like so. I've been like we've talked about this before. Like I'm taking flight lessons right now, right? And towards the end of last year, like I couldn't take my last lesson, and I was looking at it yesterday. Like I just started up for the new year, and it was 3 weeks since my last flight lesson. And there's a little bit of kind of anxiety, right? Like, am I gonna do well today, or am I gonna be rusty, or what? Am I gonna forget a lot of things that I learned like last year? And I kind of just I did really well yesterday, and my instructor was pretty happy about it, and he was just like, sometimes like you just need that little break because we were actually supposed to go out on Tuesday, and then we had a problem with the plane, so I didn't even get to go out on Tuesday, so I had to go yesterday. And then like yeah, after our lesson, he was just like, he's like, yeah, you did really well. I was like, yeah, well, we haven't flown in like 3 weeks, and he's like, yeah, sometimes you need that little break to kind of have things like kind of solidify and gel for you. And it kind of just like I equate a lot of the stuff that I'm doing there with like fighting game stuff and stuff that I've learned competing and playing a Street Fighter.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I've thought about is like uh you have to like you got to find like what works for you individually, because like I've mentioned that to a lot of people, and they're just like, I was like, I take breaks, like you said, like I don't grind a lot, I don't play a ton of hours, like I put a lot of hours in this game, but I'm not like constantly playing like all the time now. And I'm okay with taking those breaks. For other people, they don't feel like that's beneficial to them, and that's okay too. And it's like you just gotta find what works for you. Like if you don't need to take breaks, then that's fine. Maybe play in smaller spurts, right? Don't play for 4 hours at a time. Play for 2 hours at a time, and then take a break. It doesn't have
Mhm.
to be like days at a time. Or if you're not, I'm not a big like lab monster either. Like I pretty much just look at Twitter and like, oh, or I look at the Dawson Discord and I'm like, oh, what kind of tech do these people have now? And I just try to emulate that. Like I'm not in there trying to figure shit out myself. Like I don't really have the time to do it, but that's what works for me. Whereas other people, they
Mhm.
need to go in there and do the reps and like I need to do this 10 times and
Yep.
get this down and figure out like every option to how to deal with this. And like, oh wait, he can wake up jab or he can delay tech this. And I'm like, okay, well, just tell me that. Like, I'm not the person to figure that out.
Yeah, it's also just like with that discouragement, because like I felt it a ton, like some bad results. Like actually a funny example, like I could tell Street Fighter 5, my first tournament here in Arizona, I think was the one I made top 8. And I know like I got like a lot of upset wins there. Like I beat Isaac, I beat Thrasher.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm just like good games, man. like I don't know anyone here, And but like to go off that is the next Arizona tournament I went 0-2. So like,
yeah,
and I'm like, crap, man. Like,
I love that we get to have a show with Benny and Christian on the same panel here, because that is literally exactly what happened with Benny, but in a different game.
Really?
And it's I think it might even be the same people. Like Isaac might have been one of the people that Benny beat.
Yeah, Isaac was in there too. Yeah,
Isaac.
When I moved here, we went to the Hazbats for Street Fighter 4, and I beat Ernest there. I beat Isaac on the way.
Yeah.
And I remember Isaac was talking shit to Ernest. It's like, who'd you lose to? And he's just like, who's this guy? And then I beat him too. And like the only people I lost to was like Latif and Mr. SNK. So I was like, I got third that first tournament. And then the next time I came around, like I didn't do so hot, and I was just like, damn. I was like, did they figure me out? Like,
damn, washed up. Like,
no, that's exactly it. Is that both of you guys kind of came out of nowhere. You played a matchup that Arizona wasn't familiar with, but we were cocky about it anyway, and everybody was really offensive. I've also been upset by both of you, I believe. And upset is a wrong way to put it, anyway. But like I remember like seeing how the scene reacted to both of you guys. Is that okay? We need to really sit down and grind this matchup out. And then that's when the 0-2 happened the next time, right? And then I think you guys gradually just started like fitting in with the scene a little bit more, and then kind of it became less about like
they're gonna beat me, and
it was less that you had a target on your back, because they had already proven by 0-2ing you or whatever. And then at that point, it was on you to like be like, okay, now that they know the matchup, I can start improving more, right? And then actually like full on playing them. And that growth has continued over these past years. So it's not like you showed up, robbed some people, and then disappeared, you know?
Yeah, man. It's funny. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's just like I said. Like, it's you gotta kind of fall to rise up again, right? And it's just like, I mean, I kind of equated to a little bit of luck too, like the fact that I came in and just kind of took people by surprise. But then, like you said, like people figure it out, and like that's their motivation, right? Like, I'm not gonna let this guy walk in the next tournament and do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean it's better for the scene overall too. Nothing puts a scene on notice more than an invader coming in and then highlighting a lack of knowledge and a lack of understanding of a particular matchup, and then humbling our scene and then forcing them to get better, which now we all get better. Now we're all the same scene too, which is even more amazing.
Yeah. That's why, like, I mean, like, like I said, I went to the gaming zone on Friday, and like before I played Christian, like I was beating everybody else that was like sitting next to me and playing and beating them handedly. And I just, I mean, to admit, like I hadn't played in like 2 weeks, so I was I was real rusty with stuff anyway, but I was still winning. But at the same time, I was just like, I really hope this kind of lights a fire against under people, because like I want them to like look at this matchup and be like, he's getting away with shit that he shouldn't, and like I want them to get better. And like nobody bothered to ask me anything, about the matchup or anything at that time, other than Mike. But like, I mean, that's that's on them if they want to. Like, I'm open to talk about that kind of stuff, but it's like, I'm not gonna be presumptuous and just assume that you want to know like how to deal with what I'm doing. Like, if you want to try to figure it out on the fly, then that's fine. Like, I'll keep doing what I'm doing. But until then, like, I mean, I'm more than happy. Like, if you're in the Discord, like, hey, what can I have done better the last time I played you? I was, oh, well, you didn't do any of this stuff.
Yeah, like I don't consider myself like that great of a coach. I do
Yeah.
want to try and give advice as much as I can, and like vice versa. It's like I know I hate asking questions. Like I'm a shy kid. You know, I don't know, man. I'm just gonna keep playing. But like I always appreciate that advice for sure. Some
Yeah.
people are different. But
Yeah. I mean, sometimes
I
it could
have
just
a
be a simple. It could just be a simple thing like, what can I do against this? Like this one
yeah,
move. It doesn't have to be like a general like, well, you weren't doing this, or you could DI more. You could do this. Like it's just be like, can I punish this? It's like actually, yeah, you can. You know do this instead, and then that could be the opening that they needed to kind of figure some other stuff out.
I'm like on the opposite end of the spectrum where I think I offered too much unsolicited advice and it gets me in hot water a lot of times. Because it's easy to come off as a know-it-all.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
the,
I think it's the
on,
delivery, really. That's what matters. Your delivery is not bad, but I'm not calling you out. I think you're actually very nice about your like.
cheers.
Look, I'm playing with the Florida scene, who are very blunt.
Yeah.
Like you're extremely nice. Like, hey man, like I don't want to like come off like a certain way. It's just like so. Oh, noticed you were doing this, and meanwhile, like a guy who I like am close to in Florida, like simple tricks. I'll name drop him. He's just like, you keep doing that same thing. I'm gonna keep beating you with that. It's like, all right, I'm gonna win right now. Do it. There you go. You did it again. Good job. Like,
It's like a drill sergeant, huh?
yeah.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like people learn differently, right? Some people respond to that style a little bit better, and others respond to more of the gentle style. But some people find the gentle style to be patronizing, and they would prefer the hard part or the hardcore advice stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And I just kind of take both, you know, like
Yeah, I'm the type of person like I don't care. You can say what you want. Like I'm used to like the people that are like Driftwood where they're just like you need to stop doing that, and I'm just like okay.
like, as long as you're not throwing personal insults at me, you can roast my game.
Yeah.
Like fine, whatever, I can take it.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm kind of on the same wavelength too.
Well, so both of you guys play keep away characters, right? And keep away characters, I think, are just more. You guys are more predisposed to making your opponent salty. So, you know, as like a career Guile player or a sim player, former Honda player, even like playing defensively is kind of your guys' jam. Active defense in Benny's case. But I how do you guys deal with it when like your play style is just, you know, really pissing off your opponent? Like, do you like what's going through your mind when that's happening?
I'm sitting there like good. I was like, I hope it eats away at you because I remember hearing somebody at casuals like, you know, around launch time, and they were just like they were playing Marissa, and they were just like couldn't figure shit out. And they're like, I'm gonna learn JP for this. And I'm just like, you know, I'm like sitting there like, go ahead. I was like, I'll figure out your JP too. Like, I ain't worried about that shit. Like, you know, you're trying to figure out reasons to change how you play. And I'm like, yeah, like I ain't worried about that at all, man. Like, if you're gonna sit there and get salty and, you know, walk away, like I feel great. That doesn't do anything other than make me feel better about like what I'm doing. Like I'm doing something right if you're getting pissed off.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like, I mean, I can tell you, I'm not really much of a trash talker. Like, I can,
Yeah.
like, I laugh it off. But like, if someone's like, you know, really tilted and just like angry at their play, I'm just, I mean, look, man, like, not my fault. Like, but and like, I can tell you, like, it's hilarious. Like playing six, like, I made it as I said this as a joke before. I think in the Discord, like. My favorite feature in Street Fighter 6 is the Battle Hub chat.
Yeah.
Like I can tell you right now, I have been accused of cheating and using scripts 5 times since Street Fighter 6 has come out. Like, and it's like it's hilarious to me at point. 2 of those were like. Actually, no, it wasn't offline, but like it wasn't like Battle Hub. It was like, you know, playing like
offline of cheating. Like
that would be wild.
Reacted to
like,
my fucking DI like out of nowhere. I'm like, what?
That would
it felt like you're using a hack, dog.
No, but like it's insane because like I'm just like I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm legit like playing and like I'm not even 14. I expect this out of like the kids playing, having that ridiculous reactions. Like
Yeah.
I actually do think I have a reasonable explanation for that, and I think it has to do with the fact that you play on pad. I think the DI is a trigger for you, like a trigger
Yeah.
button, right? So it makes it a little bit easier to reach that.
I use
Or
the standard trigger buttons. Yeah,
okay,
Yeah.
okay. So do you do two together?
yeah.
Okay. Um, and that actually is a whole nother can of worms here. Is that you do play on pad? You play pad Guile, pad Ryu. And you know, like with the advent of like hitboxes becoming like the next big thing, and even in 5, like it was not cool to play on pad, and stick was superior during the Street Fighter 4 days. And so I was curious about like what got you started with pad as a Street Fighter player, and then what made you stick with it over the years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Real quick before you answer that, like,
sure.
you talking about us making people salty, John. It made me think
Oh
about
yeah,
like that whole like Palpatine thing and like it's like good, good, let the hate
Good.
flow through you kind of thing, right? Like that's how I
yeah.
feel like when people are like pissed off and like, oh man, I'm getting mixed right now. I'm just like, yeah. That's
Oh
exactly
man.
that's what I
I don't even
visualize.
have to mix them. I'm just sitting there like
Yeah.
I'm on a panel with two fucking Sith lords.
All right, yeah,
uh,
go ahead, man. Go ahead. So you're talking about how you started with using pad and
yeah. So like to answer your question of why I like got into it and like why I keep going.
Yeah.
The answer to both of those questions is money. Uh,
Oh.
legit. Like a
FGC
pad
is
is
poverty.
hell yeah, I'm poverty. Like yeah, the pad. I had a PS4 pad. I was able to stick with that. Eventually, like I could move on to like a Hori pad. Like I have one of mine right here. This was only like $50. I'm not
Yeah.
buying like obviously there's cheaper like sticks and hitboxes and all that, but like I knew like the average was good ones were going to be much more than a typical Hori pad. So that was that was really my main reason we sticking to it. I have tried out Hitbox. I remember a few years ago, and obviously they take a lot to get used to.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to like say like I can never do it, but it's kind of just that I don't really see the investment worth it for me. I feel comfortable already with what I'm playing on. Yeah, I'm just fine with where I'm at. And stick, like I've tried stick. I can tell you playing like the arcades at TGZ, I suck on stick. Like, yeah.
For the folks who are listening to the audio of this, there was a round of applause when Christian showed his his pad on stream, and it's because we have audio alerts on the stream. Thank you, Freezy, for battle testing that after 68 episodes. I
Thank you,
had
Freak.
no idea. I also have no idea how to turn that shit off, so don't do that anymore.
That's funny. Yeah, it's funny you talk about like the being the it's not worth the time investment because that's kind of where I was too because I was at a point where I was kind of
Specifically for me, other
yeah
people are different, and I'm not going to tell like I'm going to tell people play on what you feel comfortable with. Find that.
yeah exactly. Yeah,
But
that's how
yeah,
I was
sorry.
too. I mean, I just looked at it as the same way. Like I thought about learning, and then at the same time, I was like, I talked to Saber about it and stuff like that, and he's just like, "Well, do you have the time to really learn that too on top of learning the game?" And I was like, you know what, you're right. Like, I mean, there might be inherent, deficiencies with using a stick versus a hitbox, but I'd rather focus my time on playing and like learning my character and stuff like that instead of also trying to figure out like, you know, how to use a new controller.
Yeah.
I tried. I just decided to eat it in Street Fighter 5 and use that time to learn
It was
hitboxing.
definitely worth it. Hitbox was insane there.
Yeah. I could do some crazy shit with Chun in 5. I still can, and the hitbox is still pretty advantageous in 6, but the DRC button I think kind of made it a little bit more even playing field.
Yeah.
Yeah. That made him change his whole character.
Yeah, that's true. I guess just to go back to the character conversation, top 5 in Street Fighter 6.
Okay, sure. I'll make one little disclaimer, and I could say like I see varying opinions on this. So like I think like there's like 9 characters that are close knit enough that if they get put in top 5, I totally get it.
Yeah.
And before I go on, I'm just going to tell you right now, Ken is absolutely still in there. Shut up, Ken players. Shut up.
There we go.
Enough.
That's what I'm looking
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
screw that. But like my personal top 5, if I listed it probably in order, would be top 3 is an easy one. JP, I think, is number 1, followed by Ken and Luke. It's very close knit. They could honestly be rearranged. Like sometimes I even rearrange them, but like that's what I'm thinking right now.
Okay.
And the 4th and 5th spots I would give to DJ and Chun.
Aw, Chun?
Interesting.
I knew this was going to come up, like this little Discord.
DJ, though, we are in agreement that character carries, right? Right, Scott?
I don't want to say anything, but
okay.
It's like a little questionable things.
He does a lot of damage, man. Too like I've never seen my life bar disappear so much than when I play Scott. Like he capitalizes on my mistakes, and then he's willing to cash out like all the time. And like when I see my life bar, like when he cashes out, I'm like, what the fuck, man?
Yep.
There were times we played each other like the last 2 TGZ tournaments. I legit just like put my controller down a couple times because I knew like this was going to be a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so but I am curious though. Guile outside of top 5 for you, right?
Barely. I put him in that 6th spot.
Okay.
And honestly, if someone puts Guile in that top 5, like I said, he's in that like 9 characters. I totally get it. Like I don't really argue.
Are there any other characters that you would put in that top 5 spot that are like kind of up for subjective?
Guile would be one of those still, I think, and the other one I would say would be Cammy.
Cammy, okay. She's a character that I think hasn't gotten her social media spotlight yet, where everyone's
waiting for it because like I noticed she's much more popular, like more in like Asia, like around there, like. But in like the West, it's really kind of punk that I see.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I noticed that from the last few, like who was it that's doing the interviews? Phenom that's doing the interviews in Japan, and like I saw Tokido and a couple, and I think Daigo even mentioned Cammy in his top 5.
I think most of them put Cammy in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like I don't know. I find that interesting because like I've said it a million times already. Like I just find her game plan really boring, but it's so effective, and I'm just like,
I'm in the same boat. I hate fighting Cammy a ton.
Yeah, she's frustrating to deal with, but she's got a really solid basic game plan.
I never really. I don't think I've ever asked you, Benny. Like, what is your top 5 in Street Fighter 6?
Well, my top 3's still been JP, Ken, and Luke. Like, sure. I thought it was kind of funny. Like the thing that I've seen recently is people are like, everybody always says JP is good, but JP doesn't really win any tournaments other than like Kakaru, right? But I'm just like, they don't have to win tournaments for a character to be good. Like, people just, you could still be a great character and be the top character in the game. And it could just be a matter of like, well, we know that this character is a big threat, and I've played this matchup a million times because I don't want to lose to it. And I'm comfortable playing it. I know how to deal with the stuff that he does. And I don't think you have to necessarily equate tournament wins with a character being good. Like, I don't think that has to be true.
I do actually kind of agree with that. Like, there's, that like argument you hear about is like, oh, only one person's doing well with this character. I've always been about like, it only takes one person to really like do well consistently. Like, take Blanca, right? Like, the only person who does especially well at Blanca in tournaments is Mena. But like, you don't really hear. Yeah, you don't really like. We know Blanca's great, so he's in that 9. Actually, is he in that 9? I don't remember, but like he's probably in that 9.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. I'd have those top 3 for sure. Is the JP, Luke, and Ken. I mean, you can kind of flip whatever order you want to put those guys in on any given day. Then I would say Cammy and DJ.
Cammy and DJ. Okay.
Yeah, those would be my 5.
Yeah, there aren't too many hot takes on this podcast, I think, for the top characters.
Yeah.
And we briefly mentioned, I think Christian mentioned Geef being the worst character in the game. Um,
Yeah.
who do you guys have for your bottom? Let's just say bottom three.
Okay.
Bottom three? Okay.
Yeah.
You want to go first, Christian?
Oh yeah, I can go first. For my bottom three, I would actually put like the grapplers, like Lily, Manon, Geef in that order.
Oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I would actually say that too. That's actually what I was thinking because I don't know. I think they're too gimmicky in a way. Like I don't know. I feel I like but amongst those three, I think Geef actually scares me the most. Even though I think he's overall the worst character in terms of his tool set. He's the one that scares me the most.
It to me, it's like it feels like they're really fighting against the system mechanics to really kind of do some really big damage, and like I hear like a lot of people that would put Aki down there or even as the worst character. And it's like I don't
Mm.
think Aki's that great of a character either, but I think she just has so much more in her kit that she can work with than them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even like Fitz, I think the drive mechanics better than they do.
Yeah.
Yep. So you can throw a fireball and drive rush behind it, and then
That's a huge
make your
advantage.
day
Even if
suck, right?
even if I don't really think her fireball is that good, that by default is a great thing to have.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I just feel like, I mean, I don't know, playing Dawson, like maybe I'm a little skewed with against Lily because I feel like that matchup's absolutely terrible for her because she can't like really start up win. Like she kind of has to play footsies with you first,
Mhm.
and then get the knockdown, and then get the win, and then at that point, it's whether or not they're just going to be uh, very easily or just throw out the EX Spire at you, which is like pretty much like 90% of the Lily players. It's like I'm gonna get in, and I was like, no, you're not. Here's this reversal. Okay, now you can start over, and I can hit you out of it now.
Yeah, Lily reminds me a lot of Mika from Five. Like Mika or Lily scares me a ton. Like much more. Like Manon and Geef are definitely kind of scary to me, but I find Lily much more scary.
Mm,
Even though like kind of the game plan against her is super basic,
yeah,
which to her detriment.
I'm actually at the point where I'm counterpicking because I think Lily Skullflux Chun it's
Yeah,
pretty
I've
bad.
heard
Really?
that. Yeah, that's actually another thing. It's like you don't see Manon and Geef really being a counter pick against any of the top tier contenders that I know of. Like maybe
yeah,
evens, but like I hear a lot that Lily beats Chun. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
yeah.
I hate it.
Then
I hate it
the
so
interesting,
much.
yeah, the interesting thing too is like it's if you were looking at the recent like rankings and stuff or the stats, it's like it's modern Lily that's at the top,
Oh,
over classic.
Really.
So
that
like
makes
of all
sense.
the Yeah. So I guess, it's just one of those things where I guess, she just doesn't lose enough to make it worth playing classic, versus having the I guess the reactions or the better tools in modern that you have.
Sure. And then just while we're on the character ranking conversation, Benny, where would you put Sim on your tier list or top
I'd,
X list?
I'd put them like just outside of the top because I feel like almost like Christian, like I feel like there's like kind of a top, I don't know, 7 or 9 because like I had the five right, Cammy and DJ were the other two, and then I guess in the rest of that there's Guile, there's Chun, there's Blanca, and then I feel like I'm missing somebody. Maybe it's just those. Maybe those are the 8, and then I'd probably put Sim maybe like right around that 9 area. Hold on, I
Okay.
want to look at the characters one more time just to make sure because I feel like I'm missing somebody. But yeah, I'd probably put Sim like pretty much at the top of like that second tier of characters.
Okay. So
Yeah,
below
because I
the
think I
tier that
got
Guile and Chun are on, then.
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think I got everybody. Oh, Jury. So I'd put Jury just above him, and then Sim would be in that next section of characters. So I don't think he's bad by any means. Like, people be like, well, he doesn't have a reversal. And I was like, there's a lot of characters that don't have reversals. Like he's got better tools to deal with, not having a reversal than some of these other characters. So
Oh, that's actually a question I wanted to ask Christian earlier, and I forgot to.
Yeah.
When we were talking about what you look for in a character, how important is a reversal to you?
It's pretty important. Um, thinking about characters I play in other fighting games, there's a few that I don't play without a reversal, but I definitely love having one. Like that will definitely kind of be a factor in who I play.
So you need a fireball and a reversal then, and that kind of pigeonholes you into the Shoto kind of archetype.
Shotos definitely. I love Shotos, so definitely that. I play those a lot, and any other well-rounded characters that wouldn't fit the Shoto category, like Guile, would fall under that.
Okay. I have, I guess, two more big questions that I wanted to bring to you guys on this show. The first one is the traditional question that we ask people on this show, and it's more to like everybody's got different answers, and so there's no wrong answer. But we just kind of want to see how you define it. What is footsies to you, Christian?
That is a really hard question. Like it's hard to describe. It's like I know in my head what footsies is, but I can't describe.
It's more of an idea than it is a concept.
Honestly, yeah, because like I will say like that term like this game has real footsies or real.
Yeah,
it's a lot of crap. Like
okay.
Maybe like in the simplest sense, it's just kind of how you approach a game and just how you work within its rules. Like Tekken, Smash, NRS, like they all are radically different games, from Street Fighter. But I'm not going to say these games don't have real footsies. Like obviously they have like their system that you work with, and if you don't like that system, then the game's probably not for you.
Okay, so you think that footsies is kind of like intrinsically tied to the game and the system mechanics of the game?
I think I would say so. Like or like an IP even, if like, because I think even Street Fighter, like every Street Fighter game is pretty different, but I think like still like certain rules can kind of work across all games.
Okay. Kind of like Dragon Ball is an IP, and Dragon Ball has the ability to fly around like a crazy person, both in the show and in the game itself with Dragon Rush, or not Dragon Rush, Super Dash.
Yeah.
Super Dash.
Yeah. So I kind of, I'm very intrigued by the idea of it being tied to an IP. That's kind of a cool way to think about it. Footsies varies based on the IP.
Yeah. Look, like Marvel.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's weird. I'm trash at Marvel. I can tell you that. I can't play it. But like I totally respect the people who manage to like kind of like understand that system completely and can play with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a whole other ball game. Yeah, that's a real kind of interesting way to look at it, because it's just like, because like when I think of Tekken and I think of footsies, it's like the whiff punishing and the backdashing and trying to force your opponent into doing something and then capitalizing, right? And it's like whiff punishing is like a big thing I think in Street Fighter 2, but at the same time it's like there's a lot of other stuff too, the projectiles and things like that aren't present in a lot of the 3D games, or not as pronounced.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Marvel, where it's almost like in a lot of ways, like I always look when I watch Marvel and like I see the high level play, it's always about the movement, right? And it's just like Tekken in a way, but just like times like a million. So it's just like seeing Magneto, what's it called, the air blast, blast move, and then like try dashing, doing all this other stuff, and I'm just like, oh, he whiffed a fierce, and then you see a wave dash, and you're just like, holy shit. I was like, but to them that's neutral, that's footsies to them, right? It's just like, oh, you can't throw that button like that because I got the movement to capitalize on it.
I'm really glad that you brought up the term wave dash, Benny, because like that lines up with Christian's Smash background and his love for Drive Rush, which Drive Rush is a wave dash. It really is.
It pretty much.
Because of the fact that you can attack out of it and then use your momentum to slide forward. That's hella wave dash. That is, there's no other like definition for that. And then Tekken has Korean wave dash. Smash is like Melee is built around that bug, I guess you would call it.
We prefer the term exploit. Okay. It's funny because like that argument is there. It's like, oh, game's full of like built on glitches, and like we have literally an account that Sakurai knew and left it in the game, and literally in some Japanese forum, he taught people how to do it.
Oh, that really?
Yeah,
Okay,
legit.
that's
So
awesome.
it's a mechanic like in Melee.
Huh. Okay. Well, my last question to you is to both of you actually is I wanted to note that today is January 4th, 2024, and so this is our first show of the new year, and I'm kind of putting you guys on the spot, but are there any New Year's fighting game resolutions that you have, or New Year or like fighting game goals for this coming year, or habits you want to break or anything like that, that you want to like, what do you want to see out of yourself in 2024 in terms of fighting games?
That's a really good question. But I think for me, because like I find myself like after putting a ton of time in this from June to probably November, it's probably the most I've played any fighting game in years.
Mm.
Um, it's one like I'd say one making good use of my time when I do play, and just continuing to find little things to work on. And I think that's what's helping me to prevent. That's what's helped me to prevent from burning out from playing so much. Because I've talked to that with a couple people, and they were just like, I'm surprised you're not burned out playing. And I was like, well, every time I play, like I'm always trying to add a little bit to my game. And as long as I have a little bit something that I have to work on, which I think everybody can look at it that way, like I don't ever consider myself stagnant, and I don't, I'm never worried about losing. And like I think something that Freezy mentioned recently is like he's lost a lot more games to like the 1400 and 1500 MR players than he has like the super high like 1800, 1900 players.
Yeah.
And like I never look at like necessarily like even losing like a game. Like, the MR might only go up by 1 point, or it might be like, negated or whatever. I might even lose a point, but I always just look at it as a set. So as long as they finish the set with me, and if I can win those two games out of the set, whether it's 2-0, 2-1, whatever, like that to me is the win. Like it doesn't matter what your rank is. Like at the end of the day, like I'm gonna have to play players of those levels and the people above them, and I'm gonna have to beat them in a first to two set regardless. So
So
as long as I can
it
get that set win, like I'm perfectly happy with that. Screw the MR and screw anything else.
it's almost like consistency with the side of time management then, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. How about you, Christian?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in a similar boat. Like, I get it's kind of a generic one, but like, I want to keep getting better, fighting new players, continue to improve. Yeah, just because it's fun to me. Like, I love it. Like, there will be times where I may like maybe not do well, stagnate, and all that, and like I try not to let that get to me. Like, that's gonna be normal. I'm human. Like, continue to kind of push through that. Like it's funny you mentioned ranked because like I used to get so tilted by ranked. Like I like even now, like I keep my sessions super short because like I know ranked is doesn't define me as a player.
Yeah.
Like I lost to this 1200 MR player. I'm not washed up. Some trash like
Yeah.
like I just like keep going.
Yeah.
That's a big one for me. And as another one, something I've been really like looking forward to is like I've only been for like the big three majors. It's hard for me to travel right now, like money reasons, obviously, but like I've been to Evo, I've been to CEO. I really do want to make it to Combo Breaker this year. Finally, make it to all three.
Yeah.
Hotels were already sold
I was
out.
gonna say about that.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they sold out within an hour to 2 day. 2 day.
Yeah, I sold. Yeah, I literally checked around 9 a.m. today. And I'm like, all right, yep. Well, I kind of saw this coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They said 10. They said 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Oh, those are
Jeez.
10 minutes? Oh my
Yeah,
god.
they said
I don't
10
want
minutes.
to.
Yeah.
This isn't a Taylor Swift concert, man. It's the fighting game community. God damn it.
it's that game tournament. I'm entering that. That's what's causing it.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh, well,
man.
well, I would say that there's I guess other goals, like in terms of like if it depends really on how many like tournaments and stuff I can actually attend. But I'd say to break in the top three would probably be like the secondary goal. Then like the super stretch goal would be actually like win a local with like some legit players there.
Okay. I will actually say that like I don't my 2023 Street Fighter 6 career was pretty bright. I think I did pretty well like up to Evo, and then after that I kind of like haven't I burnt out and I haven't been as consistent. Um and I've been doing a lot of soul searching uh as to why I lack that motivation at this moment, and I think a lot of it has to do with lack of a tangible goal. And so I applaud you guys for having that goal, like for having like it's both. There's like there's beauty in like the hey, I know that the path that I'm on is fine and I will keep traveling down that path, like maintaining that consistency. But I also found that like having an ideal placing, uh and there's a million factors that can go into a tournament placing, and it's really difficult to really accomplish that because the stars have to align in a lot of ways. But like I had a goal to make top 8 at a major, and I played so hard to get to meet that goal, despite how random that chance was. Because one, you need to be able to travel for it. Two, you need to get a good bracket, and then three, you need to be playing on that day. Like you need to be good that day as well as just good in general. So all those factors in mind, like I highly encourage our listeners and you guys as well, and myself too, like set a goal in this coming year, put a number on it, because even if that number isn't attainable, or if it's if there's too many factors to make it a consistent top 8 placing or winning a local or whatever, first place, second place, third place, that number is going to drive you forward. I think at least it drove me forward. Everyone's got different motivations, but Christian, for you in particular, I think you've got like probably the brightest future out of the three of us on this call right now. And so I'd highly like encourage you to shoot for the moon, because I think you can do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's funny you mentioned that, John, because like I don't know, it just goes back to like one of my favorite quotes is like, even in great attempts, it's okay to fail. Like that's a Bruce Lee thing, and it's just like, or aim for the moon or whatever because you land
End up in the
amongst the stars.
Yeah.
That kind of
Why
thing,
do
right?
we
So
fall down, Master Wayne? So we can get back up.
For real, man.
So
I'm sitting with two legends of getting back up, because you guys showed up in the scene, you bashed some heads in, the scene adapted to you, and then you had to pick yourselves back up, and then combat any kind of imposter syndrome that may have occurred there, and then now you're staples of the scene and winning tournaments, placing in top 8s, possibly going even further beyond that. So I think very highly of you guys as players. So well done. This is gonna be a good year. I think
highly of you. You've helped me a lot.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Thanks. Did you have any shout outs or anything before we kind of close things out here?
Yeah, I mean, basic thing. Shout out to the AZ scene, because definitely I would not have gotten as good as I was without them. As well as both the Tampa and Orlando scenes, the Connecticut scenes, like a lot of those guys I don't even talk to anymore, but still I value, what I've been able to learn from them. Shout out to my friends that I played Smash with, and shout out to my wife, Mel. I don't know if she's watching, but yeah.
Someone clip this and then send that clip to her. She won't want to watch the whole thing.
That's all she needed to know. Like, did he forget about me? Like, damn.
Alrighty. Well, this has been the Absolute Guard Podcast, episode 68 with John, Benny, and Christian. You can find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Spiral Series, YouTube at youtube.com/Spiral Series, and on Apple Podcasts and Spotify under Absolute Guard. To all of you watching and listening, don't forget that you can record your own 30-second intro to the show, and it will be used at the beginning of this show. And so we're really looking for audience participation there. Just a fun way to involve our scene a little bit more. So have a good night, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in.
Can be like, I'm gonna figure out how to beat this guy, or are you gonna take this ass whooping and you're gonna walk away with your tail between your legs and be like, I'm just gonna go play with my friends from now on. And it's just like, that's just how I've always been.
That's another beauty of like our panel today, because that's a hella Gen X mindset. The millennials like, oh, how are you feeling today? You know, like, you know, very polite and stuff. I don't really even know. Like, Christian, do you consider yourself a Zoomer or a millennial?
We're in the subgroup that I call Zillennials.
Oh
like
my god,
born in that
So,
late
like,
90s. We call ourselves Zillennials because I can't relate to Zoomers. I will tell you that right now.
you're an elder Zoomer. That's what you
Yeah.
are. It's on you to educate the next generation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Alright.
I'm from that generation where it's just like, I think too many people now are soft.
Yeah, I fucking that is extreme Gen X, man.
Yeah,
Counterculture,
that's
countercultural
where I'm coming
lifestyle.
from.